right. Welcome to Derbycon. You guys having a good time? Awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming to my talk. It's always a great when I see so many people come. So it's always it means a lot to me. It means that you guys appreciate a lot of the stuff that we do. But understand that. Hold on, I'm getting some feedback. There we go. Better, much better. Understand. Okay, so now I'm going to say this, but I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, which is just about everyone in my life, because I'm so short and But Jeffrey Snover and Lee Holmes, can you two stand up real quick? Because I see you guys right there. Can you guys give these guys a round of applause? Okay, so without their work, none of the stuff that I've been doing, the last couple of years would actually be, worth anything. So I'd have to come up with, different attacks or whatever the case may be. So I really appreciate everything that they've done. Oh, son of a. I got a bracelet. I'm not doing anything. I got a bracelet. Oh. Well coordinated. Wait, I'm not old enough to drink. Love you too, Dave. I quit. I can't gulp. Sip, sip, sip. I hate you, Sorbo. Mm-mm. 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 Mm. I'm not getting through that talk if I finish that. Ooh. That stuff is nasty. Ugh. Anyways, a little bit about me. I'm Ben0xA, Ben0xA, not Ben0xA. 10 is not my age. It was funny because I gave a talk here last year, and then shortly after Dave called me and he's like, hey, we want to bring you on to Trusted Sex. So now I'm a senior. Excuse me. I hate you, Sorbo. Senior security consultant. I'm way more professional when I come on site, by the way. With Trusted Sex, so doing pen testing and stuff with them. So even though I look really young, I've been doing this for quite a while. Developer for over 20 years. I actually did start programming when I was 12. It wasn't last year. So I actually started writing stuff. I did IT infrastructure for 13 years, did, defense and a vice president for 8. And then for the last couple of years, I've been doing, offense side. I've written a few tools, PowerShell framework. That's actually more and more people I'm seeing actually are starting to use it. It's a defensive tool, kind of like a poor man's IDS. Not PowerShell. I'm going to show you guys a little bit about this. Super fun. And then invoke honeycreds. I think I've shown some people that. Towards the end, if we have a little bit of time, I'll show you guys that as well. But before I get any further, geez. Ugh, it's so bad. I do have a special introduction. Would you guys give it up for my son, Joe? So I'm all about teaching, right? I love teaching, and so he gets really excited about what we do. He came last year, went to the Hardware Hacking Village, completely tore it up in there, came back, and he's like, yeah, I'm a hacker now. And I'm like, no, you're not. And then, so he's like, well, show me how to do it. So I used Dave's unicorn, showed him how to do it, and so this is his first shell, where he not only got the shell, he migrated to WinLogin, and then got system with NT Authority. So that was his first shell.
So a lot of people say we look alike, and we like the same technology, we like the same things, but the difference between me and Dad is that I'm supposed to be this short.
You're grounded. So anyways, that's my little guy, so I'm all about this. So every year, up into this year, I've been doing a derby contest. Anyone ever participate in one of those where you guys have to Photoshop me into something crazy? So like if you do Ben0xA meme, there's all sorts of fun things out there. But I decided not to do that this year for two reasons. One, super busy, but two, the tickets went out so fast. I felt bad not being able to, to take up one of those. But that doesn't mean that y'all haven't been messing around with me. So, here even 14 hours ago, just iced Paul Koblitz, from Derbycon. Are you old enough to do that? Here's Joe and me on our first airplane ride. How nice the airplane supplied you with a guardian for your flight. Derbycon, here we come! The guy in the striped shirt is bringing his son? Awesome! And it's so nice that today's youth can fly without an adult present. Safe travel, kids! So this next one is an actual perspective shot. And for those who are not tall, you can understand, like, I go to the magazine shop, and I'm like, I had to actually ask a guy to get Air and Space from the top shelf for me. And this was the only response I got. So there was an issue in my neighborhood where, there was some real sketchy things going on. This car was like driving around. There was this kid. It was middle of the school day. The kid should have been in school. Like, it just seemed off, right? And so, like, there wasn't anything bad going on, but I just wanted a police officer to just come by, see what was going on, make sure everything was okay, because, it just seemed odd for this kid to not be in school. So I call the police, and, I'm like, hey, can I get an officer to come by or whatever? And they're like, yeah, sure. So the officer pulls up, and I'm in my running gear because I had just gone for a run, and I roll down, so I go to walk over to tell him, like, the whole situation. He looks at me and goes, shouldn't you be in school? So, of course, I post that. He's like, I would have thought it was, can I speak to your parents? So I get made fun of all the time, and in fact, right here earlier, they're like, does it ever get old? I'm like, no, it's fine. I'm perfectly okay with it, and a lot of times I do act like a kid. So anyways, I'm perfectly okay with you guys making fun of how old I look or how short I am, but that's perfectly okay. I'm big on interaction, okay? So this is not just a keynote. This is not just for me to just talk to you. I'm all for asking questions, and I've got a few extra drink tokens for non-inane questions. All right? So the past few years, we've been talking a lot about PowerShell, right? In fact, if you were just in here with Will, by the way, Will left some awesome stickers, so I'm going to give away Will stickers for him for PowerShell Empire. You just heard about Empire. You've seen a lot of the cool stuff that's come down the track. Carlos Perez does a great PowerShell training. There's been a lot of cool things. Matt Graber has done it, Matt and his team, Will and his team, and I know there's a lot more people that are doing awesome PowerShell stuff, and it's happening everywhere. And a lot of technologies are actually being very cognizant of that. And if you look at a lot of your detection mechanisms, they're now flagging Empire. Oops. There you go. Stop hacking me, bro. They're flagging Empire. They're flagging other things. They're looking for all of this stuff. You guys should actually start to see that in a lot of the different scenarios, right? So that's fine and that's great. But part of what I'm going to talk about in this talk is how over the last year, as vendors have gotten smarter and people have come up with defense methodologies to try and detect it, I've come up with ways to get around it. And so that's part of what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm going to start with the one thing, and I think, unfortunately, I was running security, so I didn't get to see Jeff's and Lee's keynote, but I saw that it was tweeted out that they would talked about this a little bit, about the execution policy. Okay? It's not a security control at all. Okay? If that's what you're using to stop PowerShell, it's not going to do you any good. So let me show you. So just to give you an example here, we'll go ahead and run this administrator. I always click yes no matter what. Thank you. Set execution policy default. Right? Yay. So now if I do import module, let's do invoke honeycreds. Okay, boom. Oh, execution running a policy is disabled on the system. Ha! I got you. No more bad guy. Oh yeah, right. Okay, whatever. I'm going to hit tab. It's right there. And I can, boom, there you go. Obviously, it's trying to do something that I'll demonstrate later, but that was, so let me show you the command again. Just here. Using download string with file. Now, download string, you typically would put in a HTTP or HTTPS address, but file works just fine. So if you are using execution policy as a security control, stop! Okay? It's not doing you any good. There's actually a shorter way of doing this as well. So there's other ways that you can actually get this. Now, detection, obviously you're looking for IEX download string with file // That's going to be a good indicator that someone's trying to bypass some of those things, right? So, but execution policy is not a security control. In fact, Microsoft has never said that it was a security control. In fact, they actually said that it wasn't, and it wasn't designed to be that way. So if you go to this blog, and I'm not sure if you guys talked about this yet this morning or not, but if you go to this blog, it talks about it, but that's the whole idea here, right? That's not a security control. And a lot of times what I see with a lot of your defenses is you guys are whack-a-mole security. You see one thing and you try and shut it down. You see another thing and you try to shut it down. And you only focus on those initial vectors instead of looking at the attack from a bigger point of view, because no matter what my vector is, I still have to do the same things after I'm on your system. So relax a little bit. Like, yes, we want to have those controls in place, but your focus shouldn't be on those initial vectors, because every time that you shut something down, I'm getting pissed off and I'm going to write something new. So then this is what y'all's kind of reaction is, when we're trying to do, anything that comes to security or whatever. That was how he stopped PowerShell. This is the new full disk encryption. Dude, I have tried to take the screen off a laptop. It's taken me hours. That woman just ripped it off. This is the best part. It wasn't her laptop. So this next one is actually really cool, because a lot of times, like, you guys think everything is fine, or I'll go to the to a postmortem or whatever, and they'll be like, how in the world did you get that? And they'll show them the attack path, and this is typically their reaction, because they think everything's good. They're like, ha, I got you. Everything's good. It's not a security control. Okay? So part of what I'm going to show you today is a lot of the things that you guys have done or that I've seen organizations do in the middle of a pen test, and it's pissed me off, and then I've had to write something new, right? And that's exactly what an attacker is going to do. If you are so focused on those initial vectors and you whack-a-mole your security, they're just going to move someplace else. Yep.
So, and I'm a PowerShell dude, and I'm here because I know you're brilliant and I want to learn from you, but can application whitelisting stop PowerShell attacks?
You know what? That's a great question, so you get a token here.
Okay.
Oh, so you're going to block PowerShell.exe, huh? Okay. All right, let's see how that works out for you. All right? Okay, sounds good. Let's go give that one a try. So let's come over here. I think this requires a reboot, unfortunately, but I'm going to show you guys where to actually do this, but I'm not rebooting my system. It's under local security policy, and it's not this. You think App Locker is it, but it's not unless you have Enterprise. I found out the hard way after doing a class that when you have App Locker on here, it's just so you can write the rules. They don't enforce them. So I'm like, it's there, and there's even PowerShell commandlets to test your rules, and it says pass, and I'm like, yay! And then PowerShell kept opening. It's actually right here. Software restriction policies under additional rules. Here you can come in and say new path rule, go browse, and we'll point it to the, obviously you'd point it to the PowerShell. But all of that being said, I decided that I was going to write something else. So I wrote not PowerShell.
But that's blacklisting versus whitelisting. Whitelisting being...
I understand. You can whitelist. That's fine. Whitelisting is fine. I'll get there.
Okay.
Just, I'll get there. I'll get there. It's all right. I know. Good. So this is not PowerShell. And basically it runs the exact same way as PowerShell does. So if you're looking in a lot of your logs and you're looking for PowerShell.exe for a lot of your stuff, yep, this is what I got. I was on an engagement and I was in the middle of doing something. Now, as a penetration tester, we obviously ask that, we've got a week, right? So we have a week to get things done, right? So I want your incident response plan to kick into place. Cool, fine. Just don't shut me down, right? I need to finish my test. Let me finish, and that way you can know everywhere else that you have to go. So I'm in this test, and then all of a sudden I've got a command prompt open, and then I try and hit a new one. It said, this app has been blocked by your administrator. I'm like, all right, fuck you. So then I opened up PowerShell and started doing some PowerShell stuff, and then 20 minutes later, this app has been blocked by your administrator. I'm like, all right, it's on. So then I grab NPS. And I download it, hit it, go whatever, come back the next day, and they're like, how did you get access to the box? They're like, we found this binary called NPS. It was written by this guy named Ben0xA. I'm like, it's me, bro. Didn't work for you, did it? So then I got access to their system. They're like, I hate you. And I'm like, I love you too. So NPS. So if you're only looking for PowerShell.exe, it's not going to do you any good. Yep. Under 4104s, yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 4104 event ID, yep, totally. Because it's actually just hooking into the PowerShell library. So any of those types of things it will do. Now, we're going to go into some obfuscation things here in a little bit, but it does still log. Yep, absolutely. So you'll still catch it, but if that's what you're doing is trying to block PowerShell.exe, it's not going to work, right? And here's the thing. Don't go and grab NPS and be like, I'm going to write an AV signature for this guy because I released the full source code. Anyone can just add a few lines or do whatever, and you're back at square zero. That's whack-a-mole security. Stop. How many of you guys actually thought about blocking NPS.exe before you got back? Good. Don't. Because I don't want AV signatures for that. Right? That's nps.exe. It's benign. It just runs PowerShell commands. And actually, PowerShell.exe is just a host application. It doesn't actually do the PowerShell heavy lifting. It's just an interface between you and the PowerShell. Right? The PowerShell's in the DLL. So blocking it doesn't quite work. So then you're like, all right, fine. What about if I block the PS1 files? Right? right? I'm just going to block all those PS1 files. If I see them, I'm going to delete them. Okay. Sounds good. Let's go back to my previous example. Oh, hold on. I'll make the font bigger. Don't yell at me. All right. No, it's good, man. If it's an error, I don't even know what the error message said. I just click OK. Okay, so let's do this. We're going to create a new program. Okay, and we will save this as test.ps1, right? Or we'll just do this as test.txt. Okay? So if I try to import module, invoke, did I save that in the right spot? Yeah. What did I name it? Oh, test.txt. Did I really? No, I'm good. Stop trolling me, dude. All right, so if I do this, if I go dir, here's my test.txt, right? If I try and import module test.txt, oh, it's not a valid file, whatever. Okay, fine. Boom. What do you guys think? Okay, so if you're looking at PS1 files, if that's the way you're trying to stop things, that's not going to do you any good either. Okay? I can make this a WTF file, I can make this a whatever file, it doesn't make any difference. Okay? So if you're only, yep, go ahead. What do you mean by what do you mean? Can I do something else? IEX is it's an alias for invoke expression. And so that's all I'm doing is invoking the expression and creating a new web client object, which is built into .NET. It's part of .NET as the way it is. So if you've got .NET, basically if you've got Windows 7 or later or whatever, like you've got this on there whether you like it or not. And then I just call the download string function, and because I can point it at a file, it'll download whatever I want and then run it. The file extension at this point makes no difference. You could have no file extension on this and it'll run and it'll be just as fine. Answer your question? Can you block this? I don't know, Jeff, can we block invoke expression directly in PowerShell? Yeah, I didn't. Yeah. You can come up and grab a token here. Okay, do you guys see that? So blocking PS1s doesn't really do you any good, right? So we've got that. So let's talk about PowerShell in some weird places. Oh, come on, that was good. He doesn't, I don't know if he quite understands what that means. No. We've already signed him up for counseling after we get back. Right? So a couple of different things is you can actually put some PowerShell in some cool little spots on different systems. So one of them is in an ASP file. It's not really this PowerShell, it's calling PowerShell.exe, but let's look at something else here. So let's look at this. So let's look at some C# code. Did you guys know that you could put that good? Good. You good? All right. So did you guys know that you could put C# code directly in there? So you can grab some sort of library like, I don't know, and not PowerShell, grab the code and put it right in here. So this is C# code. So the way you do this is any type of assemblies that you're going to call that right here. And then you're going to put your code directly in here, just like you would any type of C# code. And so here we can see that I'm hooking into the PowerShell.create. Whatever command you're getting, I'm adding as a script. I'm invoking it, grabbing the output, and showing it to the screen. I also added some base64 encode and decode functions in there just for the fun of it. Then what you do is you check to see if your type has been added. And then if not, then you go ahead and add it with add type. So now if I add type, and I'm basically encoding and decoding here, which I'm actually not going to do. I'm just going to do this as... It's because you guys made me blow this up. Source. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. There. Okay? So once I do that, then I can actually call nps C# run and then get date. So it's PowerShell within your PowerShell within your PowerShell. Just because we can. So I will import... Oh, hold on. My execution policy set. Let's do it this way. Invoke C# code.ps1. Oh! Sorry. I was messing around with this yesterday. Yes, it does. What are you talking about? Did I change the wrong one? No, I got it. Here. Let's try this one. Let's do the WTF module and see if that works. I have to close this out though. So the one key is if you use this add type, you actually have to close PowerShell to clean everything out and load it back up again. You can't if you make a change to the code, it won't actually work. Oh. You have to run everything as administrator. It's just better to set your users up that way. All right, let's try this again. All right. So now if I import module scripts, invoke C# code, code PS1. There we go. So as you guys can see, it ran my get date, right? That's all I did, right there. And to show that it actually works, I can do like, right, output, hello, Derbycon, right? And again, I have to close it and reopen it because I can't re-add the same type. It's just not the way it works. So if I go like this, import module C, PSF scripts, invoke C# code, invoke C# code, and there we go. Oh. Did I grab the wrong one? Oh, I changed WTF.ps1. Oh, let's try it again. Run as administrator. Module C, PSF scripts, import, invoke C#. Oh, because I'm doing the base64 decoding. That'll be a good segue. So, we'll get Derbycon to show up here. There we go. Hello, Derbycon. Okay. So, no matter what's going on, we can run C# code. So let's see what this looks like in the event log. Oops. Right? So now we've got 2,000 events. If we look through here, these are the 4104s. If you haven't done PowerShell logging, you should really look into that. Let's see if we can find where our injection point was. It was, dude, there's a ton of logs in here. Yeah, see, it's if you're doing this manually, it's super awesome. So kind of difficult to find. But there are things that'll actually pull that up, and so you can see all of that. But, so let's talk about, so we've got our C# code, and you can maybe see that and see where everything goes on, but what happens if I do something a little bit crazier? What happens if I go like this? And what I do is I base64 encode my C# code. Let's view WordRap. Where are you? So now that's my C# code. Now everyone's going to say, oh, well, PowerShell decodes the encoded command. Well, this isn't an encoded command. This is the C# code it's in there. So when you're looking at this and when you're inspecting files, you actually have nothing to hook into. So when you go to run this, it's still going to run because it's going to base64 and decode that code. But the PS1, when you load it, it's only going to show this in the 4104 logs. So the 4104 logs have no idea what your C# code looks like. None. None. Now you can manually go through and decode that, but are you going to do that on 40,000 assets? I don't think so. So that means a lot of your tools and everything that you've got going on right now that are inspecting these things in the 4104s, I load my C# code, you have no clue what my C# code is going to do. None. This is another point. Understand, at the base level of what I'm trying to communicate with you guys, stop whack-a-mole. If your job is to try and stop the initial vector and you're not looking at the bigger picture, that's a problem. I'm not saying don't take means to stop it, but understand there's always going to be someone who's going to come up with something else to bypass that. You're not going to have that insight. How many of you guys read Casey's blog about MS Build? Oh, you need to go Google that. So MS Build is actually pretty awesome. It's installed on just about every Windows box, if not every Windows box. And you can actually take C# code. Tell them I said hi. You can actually take C# code and actually run it, and it'll... Hey, Adrian. How's it going? Oh, boy. Bye, Adrian. So you can actually take C# code and put it in MS Build. So that's something that you'll want to look at as well. What I want to do next is, talk about antivirus, right? Right? Yes. Nope. It's just, once you close it, everything's gone. There's nothing there. It's all within this namespace that it's created. Not the namespace, but the run space. So it's all within that self-contained situation. Yep. So I haven't looked into that. So the question was, is there any other opportunity for DLL injection? I don't know. So I actually just wrote what I'm about to show you guys here in a little bit last night in my hotel room. So I'm going to show you guys something that I think is actually really cool. But let me talk about AV as well. Antivirus will stop it, right? That's awesome. Matt Graber's stuff, even Will Schroeder's, a lot of their stuff are getting picked up. Dave's stuff got picked up, and it was like PowerShell.exe, no profile, encoded command like this, right? Right? You know what he did to bypass AV? He did this. Done. He just changed ENC to encoded command, right? So, and I'm not saying don't have AV. I'm not saying that's a great control, but that's not the control that you need to be focusing on with these type of attacks. Okay? It's too easy to do the obfuscation. And look, like, you're not going to inspect this. Unless you're going to hire someone to go through and monitor all of these event logs looking for base64 encoded stuff and then reverse engineering and looking through the C# code, of which will probably be obfuscated anyways, that's going to be a problem, right? So that's not going to do you guys, that's not going to be the focus that you guys need to go about, because we're going to come up with different ways to bypass that. So, let me show you another cool little thing. So, a lot of you guys are looking for this, like this system.reflection, like if we call these libraries, right? You guys have seen these, right? These are some basic indicators of PowerShell Empire, of PowerSploit, and everything else like that. So if you look for, system.convert, to base64 string, whatever, it basically will give you the binaries. And so what you're doing is in a lot of your searching, you're looking for. You good? Okay. You're looking for this, right? So let me show you something cool. You can actually do something like this. So what you do is you build your string, system.text.encoding, and then you use type with the type name. Then you can call the library with just T1. So now, instead of me calling those libraries of which you're looking for, I'm calling T1 and T2. So you guys aren't checking it. So let me show you what this looks like. I know some people were taking pictures, so I was waiting. So if I import module, invoke type. If I invoke type, there we go. And if we look at the event log, oops. There's our invoke type. And if we look at this, this is what we're looking for. So when we loaded our code, it didn't change that. It didn't change it to the actual library. So even when you're looking in your 4104s, it's not pulling up those libraries. You can do the same thing with reflection. You can do the same thing with any .NET library. You do the string cast type, you're not looking for those libraries. It's gone. You don't have insight any longer. Right? Now, I'm a defender at heart. I love being able to defend. So what's my point? Right? Why am I doing all of this stuff to yet, further along or weakening our ability to detect things? The problem is you guys are still whack-a-moling. You focus out. No matter what way I get onto your system, I'll get you in just a second. No matter how I get on your system, I still have to do the same things. I still have to pivot. I still have to get users. I still have to inspect the traffic. That's not going to change. You're still going to be able to see all of that. There are other ways of blocking all of or detecting a lot of the other stuff that I'm doing after the effect. But I see so many people focusing on these individual attack vectors that they're missing the bigger picture. They're missing the bigger idea that if I use PowerShell to get on your system, okay, so what? I might use Outlook tomorrow. Who knows? I'm sorry, who had the question back there? Yeah. Yeah, so Splunk's getting this. But I didn't use encoded. Oh, you're saying the AV and DNC to encoded? Right. Well, right, but if you look at Empire, so I do a lot of my Empire, and I don't use the encoded, I just use the straight function. That's what I love about Empire, is that it gives me that straight function that I can copy and paste in there. Now, there are tools that are actually picking that up, and it's really cool. But again, it doesn't take much to just obfuscate that. The point is, I'm not trying to say, don't try and detect this stuff. I'm trying to say, change your defensive methodology. And I'm showing you new techniques. neat ideas, things that I have been doing for the last year that I haven't shared with anyone, right? And there might be other people that are already doing these types of things. It's just this is the way that I've done them. And I've gotten around a lot of different systems, and it's pissed a lot of people off. But I don't like to lose. So you can do that. So I'm going to skip ahead. I just wanted to show you that picture. So what I did last night. I was really excited last night. I'm sorry, go ahead. Yep. 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 So his point was, if I go in using easy attacks and, just start using like cut and paste like I'm blasting in, you're absolutely right. And that's a great indicator of compromise. And I'm not saying don't use those tools. We have great vendors out there, right? I've been on some systems where y'all have pissed me off because you keep shutting things down or you get detected. And I take it personally. So I write new tools, right? So if you want a new tool, just piss me off and then I'll write something new. And we'll talk about it at Derbycon next year. Right? And that's great. And you might. But here's the thing. If my goal is to get in there and my goal is not to get detected, I'm not going to go the path that you're expecting me to go, right? I'm going to go through and I'm going to base 64 encode my base 64 encoded stuff, right? And you're not going to catch that on the stream because your watch list that you've got for Carbon Black and all of your other things, you're not picking up on it because it's not going to match any of your regex queries that you've got going on there unless you're inspecting every single PowerShell command that you're running on your system. It's not going to happen, right? And that's the whole idea. You can use the MS build to run the PowerShell code itself as well. Or I can just use MS build to do a C# code, which does the next thing I'm about to show you. So, one of my problems was, on an engagement was, getting access to the machine and getting that persistence and getting things to run. So I got not PowerShell, but the point was, I didn't want anyone to know that not PowerShell was there. I had to get it to the system to run it, but I didn't want it to touch disk. So here's what I did. Here's what I did last night, and I'm sitting in the hotel room right after I got here. I'm sitting in the hotel room, and all of a sudden I was just, oh my goodness. And Joe's like, what, Dad? I'm like, oh my goodness. He's like, Dad, are you okay? I'm like, oh my goodness, it worked. And he's like, you're weird. So I want to show you something cool. Invoke memory, not PowerShell. I'm able to download NPS from my remote resource and run it directly from memory without it touching disk. So let me show you how this works. So this is just using that C# code that I showed you earlier. Again, I could base 64 encode this as I showed you earlier, right? So you guys aren't going to be able to see this code. This is my payload. So this is from Unicorn. Okay? Now I'm going to double check my shells I've got going on here. And I will be putting this out on my GitHub later. So if we look at options, just make sure my IP hasn't changed. By the way, that stinks when you're trying to do an exploit and your IP changes in your VM. That's really annoying. Okay, so I'm going to exploit this. Hold on one second. Okay, cool. So that's running. So if this works, and I'm going to run this not from an administrator, just normal PowerShell. Okay. And I'm going to open up the task manager, and I'm going to leave it running on top. We're going to look and make sure that NPS isn't on here. Okay, so no NPS, right? You guys are all with me? NPS.exe doesn't exist. But I will show you that it's sitting right here on my web server. I've got Apache running. So there's my Apache server running right there. Okay, you guys are all with me, right? You understand? So if we look at my IP here, it's 137. And in my code, I'm pulling down from, because it's on top. Sorry, hold on. I'm pulling down from here. You guys with me? So then I load the binary. Oh my goodness. Stop it. So I load the binary, and then I inject the payload. So you can look, here's my -enc, which is part of nps.exe, and then I give it the payload. So if this works, we should get a shell. Let's just do it the fun way. Okay, so we're looking right here. I'm going to put this down here. Do you guys know you can turn sounds on in Metasploit? You get Mutt's voice on there, especially when it fails. He goes, "Try harder." So let's see if this works.
And our exploit worked.
And if we look, no nps.exe. It's all in memory. Yes, sir. Yeah, so he said it reminded him of the Mr. Robot attack. Absolutely. He got that from me. Do you guys see? And do you guys understand the point that I'm trying to tell you? This is not me coming around saying it's futile to do defense. That is not what I'm saying at all. In fact, there's a lot of organizations that I've been to that I have been so frustrated because they did defense well. Because they didn't care about my initial attack vector. They expected me to be there. They're like, yeah, we know you're on the box. It's okay. Keep going. I'm like, I'm not even in my final form yet, bro. And then they're like, yeah, we saw you pivot. We saw you log into 47 different boxes. Understand the attacker mentality. When you understand the attacker's mentality, you're not so focused on that initial vector. You're more concerned about what to do after it. A lot of you guys are looking for the right things. Some of you guys don't even know for some of the basic stuff. Do you guys know about this one? Do you know that this is like awesome for me to get this? Does anyone know what this does? This downloads everything from a system and tells me every KB that you have. Then what I do is I use a tool called Windows Exploit Suggester, and it tells me which KB you don't have. And not only that, it tells me if there's a Metasploit module or exploit code available. So MS-15051, a lot of you guys haven't patched. Do you know what that is? That's a privilege escalation. And a lot of you guys on a lot of systems, that's the way we have it. So when you're looking for things, understand I have to get around your network. I need to know your users. I need to know what's going on. So I've shown this a couple of times, but I don't think I've shown it here at Derby, but I want to show you guys real quick. You guys have heard of Responder, right? Cool tool, right? I'm just going to exit out of here real quick. Responder is a really neat tool. So for those that don't know, Responder is basically a tool that if you do any type of request and it doesn't have a DNS entry, it'll actually respond to those, hence the name Responder. It's just Tor, don't worry. There we go. And so, exploitation, Responder. Oh, I need to shut down Apache. Hold on. Okay. I don't care about the SSL port. Okay, so basically it's just going to sit there and respond. So if I come over here and I type netuse snover.local, Lee Holmes, that's his actual login ID. Let's see. Oh. you'll see that I get a poison answer for snozen.local, and then when it does that, I'm actually going to grab its hash. So you'll see that here in a second. So you see that the command's completed successfully. Snover.local doesn't exist, at least I don't know, unless Jeff is hacking me at the moment. Okay? Right? So it's not there. So the thing about it is that this shows up and it basically shows the hash that goes on, and obviously I have a previously captured hash for it for some reason. So what I want to do is I want to check to see if I have an account here. And in fact, let me do this. Remove responder.db. And let's do it again. And that way I can actually show you. There. So you can actually see, here's the hash that comes through. Don't worry if you guys try and crack that. It's just password. It's all good. Okay? So I have to crack this. I can't use this in a pass-the-hash attack. I have to actually crack this. So what I did is I wanted to know how I could actually detect this. Because if I'm on your network, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can get credentials from somebody else. So what I did is I wrote a tool called Invoke Honeycreds. And what honeycreds are is credentials that actually get injected into the network. And it's in a completely different namespace. So what I do, import module, invoke honeycreds. So when you say invoke honeycreds, it'll ask you for a password. Now this is actually hooked into the Windows 7 or the Windows credentialing system, so it's not I didn't just pop up a box. This is actually good to do. Then what you do is you create valid looking credentials, not user-based, service-based. So if I do this, and if I do lead.local SCCM updater service, and I give it a decent looking password, maybe something that's actually random, something like a lot of our service accounts look like. Yes? Oh. Okay. So as we can see, there's our SCCM service update, and then look. So I do two things with honeycreds. The first thing I do is I send you the hash, but then I also send in plain text, because if you're an attacker and you've got a hash that you have to crack or you get plain text, which one are you going to use first? Plain text. And what the cool thing about honeycreds is this account does not have to exist. And the moment that responder responds, you get a 200 OK on this side. And you know you have somebody using responder on your network. And the best way to check for it is event ID log 4648. Write it down. 4648. That is how you detect somebody using this set of credentials on your network. So what do you guys think? Cool? All right, so I know I'm running out of time. So you guys can get a lot of the stuff. My not PowerShell and honeycreds are on GitHub, full open source. You guys can do whatever you want with that. Jared Atkinson has done some great stuff on the defense side. I encourage you to use his stuff. We've also have PoshSec with Matt Johnson and myself. Some really neat tools. A lot of people have contributed to that. I'll let you guys take some pictures. It is also on my Twitter. It's pinned up there, so you guys can grab that. So, in conclusion, that's it. I'm done. Questions? Yes. Can I use PowerShell to bypass Net Nanny? I think that's a conversation for us later. All right, guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I have free stuff up here, so if you guys want to come talk to me, I can give you some